Welcome to Soccer Gaming, and in this episode we start looking forward to MLB 22, and they've come out with some stuff on franchise and some of the stuff they've made. So in this episode I want to go over what we've learned in the franchise mode and what they said was going to happen and what I noticed and what I think is going to happen and what I want to happen in the future in MLB The Show 22. So if you'd like to watch that, stick around. So the first thing I want to go over is some of the changes made in franchise mode. They talked about the trade metric not being the trade value, which I understand where they're coming from with this, but it's still broken. Like, I was watching their live stream and they were trying to trade Josh Bell, who's a first baseman, age 29, C potential, 78 overall. So he's got maybe 3 years left. He's a C potential, so he'll probably never be around like an 84 or above. And they're basically willing to trade. The Braves are willing to trade Christian Pache. Again, this was before all the trades and everything. A 23-year-old A potential, already a 66 overall. So you're looking at a guy that could hit 90s, and you're trading him for a guy that's going to max out at an 84 in the next 3 years. You're losing a ton, or you're gaining a ton of salary, I guess, in it. But like, that's not a fair trade. That's not a trade that the Braves would be making currently. So I know they talked about it, but I still feel like it's broken. Another one to throw out here, you got the Rangers giving up Josh Jung, 24, a potential, 67 overall for Josh Bell as well. And again, you're giving up one of the best prospects in your organization for Josh Bell, who's 29, a C potential, a 78 overall, guy that's probably never going to get up to 82, 83 overall. And then the last example of this, and again another just complete crap, is Matthew Liberatore from the Cardinals. Matthew Liberatore is one of their best prospects, so they're giving up a top 3 prospect for Josh Bell in an organization right now that's not really set up to win. They're kind of in their rebuild mode. They're going to need Liberatore in the future, and yeah, they have him getting traded basically for Josh Bell. So they say that they've messed with the metrics and the trade value and everything, but it still, to me, looks broke. It still looks really, really not good. The next thing they talked about was the trade block logic, and if it works out like this, I'm actually kind of excited about it because it makes sense. So they talked about in it that the trade block logic is going to reflect real life contenders and rebuilders, meaning if you're the Royals and you're a rebuild, obviously you have a guy that's doing really, really good, let's say Danny Duffy or something, and he's pitching very, very well this year, then they will throw him up on the trade block and teams will go after him because they need a great starting pitcher right now, but aren't really looking to rebuild. So, you know, you get that kind of trade value in there with the trade block logic. But it'll be, again, interesting to see how they do it, because like in the years past, you'll have a team that's going for a world championship, but they're trying to basically trade. They put it on their trade block a player that they basically need in order to keep winning. And you'll see things vice versa. Like you'll just see weird kind of people on the trade block that just don't make a lot of sense. The next thing will be the teams will have value on top players, place premium on them in trade negotiations, meaning that if you're going after, it's supposed to be meaning if you're going after a top player, like let's just say Bobby Witt, you're going to have to pay a lot for him. And I think the thing that they showed is if you wanted like a top 5 prospect, you have to give up 2 really, really good guys, or something like that, if I remember. And I kind of feel like, okay, that's realistic, but you would have to throw the kitchen sink at the Royals to get Bobby Witt Jr. I mean, you're looking at so what I'm saying is, in last year's game, you could trade for Ronald Acuna. There's no way the Braves are taking anything remotely close on a trade for Acuna. And that's the problem I have with last year's game, and I can kind of already see it in some of the trades and stuff in this year's game, is you should not be able to trade for Acuna. If you could somehow come up with a trade good enough to trade for Acuna, then you're basically taking yourself out of playoff contention. Now, if you have like 390s or 392s or 95s, then yeah, maybe trade for Acuna. But like basically last year's game is you could take 3 A potential guys that were 22 or below, and they're A potential, but they're like 60s or 50s, and you could trade them for Ronald Acuna. You can't do that. That's not realistic. That will never happen. You're going to have to trade the farm and more to get Acuna on your team. So hopefully they kind of change that, and they're saying that they basically the top players, you're going to have to pay a premium on them in trade negotiations. So we'll see if you could still trade for Mike Trout and Robert Acuna or Ronald Acuna with a couple bags of chips. So players won't be traded immediately after signing in the offseason. Now, I don't know if that is user or if that is kind of the CPU and everything. So basically, after you sign them to a 5-year, $4 million deal, once the offseason's over, you can't just go ahead and trade them right away. Teams will also value the relief pitchers and closers less in comparison to starting position players and starting pitchers. So what they're saying is teams might not, like at the trade deadline or whatever, teams are looking to boost their pitchers and stuff. They'll go after some relievers, and what they're saying is teams will kind of value them, the pitchers and closers, the relief pitchers and closers, a little less compared to the starting position players, like a starting shortstop or a starting pitcher that's going to be in rotation. Those are going to be worth more than going out and getting some relief pitching and closers. Whether or not that actually works that way, or whether or not that is actually good, we'll wait to see. Because in my opinion, relief pitching, if you have a really good relief pitching, it doesn't matter what your starters do. If your relief pitching shuts it down from inning 4 on, like, you're set. So we'll see how it works out, and we'll see in the rebuilds and everything how it actually performs. Last thing is the free agency realism in the offseason. They said that it was basically going to take longer, so you're not going to have Trevor Story signing 2 days into free agency. You might see him pull a little longer and take a couple weeks or whatever to sign with your team, which I like. I think it adds some realism to it. I know that I could go out and sign pretty much everyone I needed to in the first like 4 or 5 days, and then I was good to go and kind of could just send through. But this way, you're kind of constantly like going back and forth, like, oh wow, yeah, he's not taking the offer. Oh look, somebody else offered him something 2.5 weeks in. Now we have to go better, and I feel like that adds some really good realism to it. Now, when they did this franchise, video, San Diego Studios and MLB The Show, they also went over March to October, and I watched that part as well, and it kind of has me wanting to know why they're putting so much effort into March to October when franchise is struggling. They've added some pretty cool, decent things to March to October when it comes to free agent signing and stuff like that. Like, you have to talk to them. You have to kind of give them your spiel and say, hey, we want you to be here because we think we could be a playoff team. And I really like that, and I hope it goes over well, and then they add that in the franchise mode. That's a perfect thing for franchise, to be able to go out to Trevor Story and say, hey, I know that you want to be on a contender, and this year we're building a team to contend for a playoff spot. We'd love to have you on our team. We'll pay you this much. We'll give you this amount of bonuses or whatever, and try to lock them in that way. I mean, we just have had no realism whatsoever in franchise for a while, and it's time to start doing it. I mean, there's so many things that are built into this that they're just not doing, and I don't know if it's because they are working on other stuff, or if I just feel like they're falling behind, and every year they're just basically giving us new rosters and like one little thing that they changed, and as a franchise player, it sucks. I mean, just knowing that the game's not going to be fun every year. And last year I gave in the Diamond Dynasty and played it a lot, created a lot of content on it, and I'm glad I did, because franchise was the same last year as it was the year before. It's just not fun anymore. And to me, being a franchise player, it sucks, man. I just want to play the game. I want to rebuild teams. I want to feel that franchise rebuild. You know what I feel? I feel the same damn game 3 years in a row, and it's literally the same game. Nothing has changed. Oh wow, this looks prettier. That's great. Oh, we added a little bit more budget and stuff, so it's a little more realistic. Well, that's fine and dandy, but I mean, I could throw around budgets all the time. It doesn't matter. Like, I need some real content in franchise mode, and I'm gonna do a whole episode on stuff that I think franchise needs to add and what they need to work on, because I know that they've kind of asked, like, hey, like, you know, if you have any suggestions, let us know. We'd love to hear it. But I feel like they might have heard us say that we want franchise fixed, but they didn't listen. They didn't listen to what we gave them as far as ideas. I don't feel like they're listening to the franchise player base. I feel like they're listening to Diamond Dynasty people, and I'm not going to get in an argument about Diamond Dynasty makes them more money, so that's why they pay more attention to it. My whole thing is I just want franchise to be better, and as a content creator, as a player that's played this game I literally bought PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5. I bought all of these PlayStations for this one game, MLB The Show. And so I'm a diehard MLB The Show guy, but franchise has to change. It has to get better. There's so much stuff that they could add in that would just make it so much better. So hopefully this year they I guess listen. I don't know. I feel like last year they're like, oh yeah, we heard you yelling and screaming, but we're not doing anything about it. Well, maybe they're moving in the right direction. Maybe they're going to start using some stuff from March to October and be like, oh yeah, this really works well. Let's add this to franchise mode and make franchise mode better. I guess only time will tell. Again, I'm going to go over another video later on about franchise and what I think things need to be added and stuff like that. That's my rant for now. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Comment down below and let me know some things that you want to see in franchise mode, and I will try to kind of add them to the video and give you my opinion on them, because I feel like there's just so many things that people want added that maybe MLB The Show and San Diego Studios just like, well, there's so much stuff, I don't really know what's going on. Comment those down below. I'd love to look at them. Give me as much information as you can about what you want to see changed in franchise mode in MLB The Show 22 and future years, because let's be honest, the game's going to come out next year as well, so why not make franchise better this year? Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. Also, feel free to hit that red subscribe button, because we have plenty of MLB The Show 22 content coming out this year. I'm going to do more content than I did last year, which I felt like was quite a bit. We're going to do about 2 to 3 videos a week, trying to help you guys play MLB The Show 22 better. Till next time, Slacker out.